If you've watched my previous video on paraphrasing basics, you'll recall that the Oxford Languages Dictionary defines the word paraphrase as to express the meaning of the writer or speaker or something written or spoken using different words, especially to achieve greater clarity. And you'd also know that we are focusing on paraphrasing as a language tip in an interpersonal context, not a research context. While paraphrasing is valuable in helping us understand what is being communicated by others, it often carries the additional benefit of letting others know that they have been heard. Let's assume you know what paraphrasing is and is not, as well as when to use it and when not to use it. Now it's time to delve a little deeper. So this video focuses on some of the techniques involved in effective paraphrasing, specifically 3 overall approaches to paraphrasing, the 4 steps of paraphrasing, as well as some hints and language techniques that can improve the likelihood that your paraphrasing will be a positive experience. We'll start with 3 overall approaches to paraphrasing. You can change the speaker's wording, offer an example, or reflect the underlying theme. Changing the speaker's wording is usually related to the content of the message. It sounds like your boss intruded on your personal time. Offering an example may mean something like, "Are you talking about those interview calls you told me about this morning?" Reflecting the underlying theme may require understanding the context or really getting at the emotional subtext. "I think you've had this experience before. Did something else happen that you're not talking about?" With these approaches in mind, let's move on to the how aspect and break down 4 steps to paraphrasing. Effective paraphrasing begins with listening. You should be listening carefully to the message. Depending on the situation, you may even want to take some notes. This means you have to put yourself in the mindset to listen, focusing on your communication partner. In the process, pay attention to what's in the message, both ideas and feelings. That means that you need to consider what might not be said, but implied, which you'll usually find in the other person's nonverbals. There's a difference between, "What a day," said with a light sigh, and "What a day," delivered sharply and angrily. The third step is determining what this may mean to you, not the possible effect on you, but what the message itself means to you. What do you think is being communicated? Leading to the final step of creating and delivering a message that reflects back what you think was said, closely resembling what your communication partner said, but is in your words, not theirs. This is your interpretation. Let's see these 4 steps in action. Your romantic partner, let's call him Chris, comes home from work, plops down in a chair, and says, sounding upset, "I can't believe this. Right before quitting time, my boss came up to me and told me I had to make 3 more calls before I could leave." As you are actively listening for both content and feeling, active listening is step 1, you recognize the content. He was given unexpected work. And the feelings, your observation of his nonverbal cues, vocal, physical, etc. He seems frustrated. These are steps 2, paying attention to what's in the message, and 3, determining what it means to you. For step 4, creating a message, you might word your interpretation as, "Wow, that seems unfair to give you all that work at quitting time, especially since she knew that you had to catch the 5:25 train to get home on time." Now Chris has the option of confirming your interpretation or clarifying it. If you guessed wrong, give Chris another chance to restate what he means. If after another attempt you still don't get it, stop trying to paraphrase, or Chris might get even more upset that you just don't understand. Now let's look at some hints as to how you can use your language so you are more likely to get a positive response to your paraphrases. Consider, your primary focus is the other person. So put your effort on what the person is saying or implying, not what you wanted or expected them to say. That means 3 things you should not do, some don'ts. First, don't expand the paraphrase to put the focus on you by saying something like, "We or I know that it's a tough time for everyone." Second, don't correct them to what you thought they meant to say, like, "I think you mean," And finally, don't judge or evaluate their comments. "You can't believe that," or "Aren't you exaggerating a bit?" Some techniques you can use include provisional language, like "it sounds like" or "perhaps." This gives your partner a chance to correct you. I find myself wording a lot of my paraphrases as questions, either directly or indirectly. "Are you saying?" Or summarizing what I think I heard and tagging on, "Is that right?" at the end. This gives the other person the opportunity to refine their original comments as a response to your question. And you can often take the burden of ignorance, allowing that you may not be correct in your paraphrase. "I might be misunderstanding you, but it sounds like," or "Of course, I don't know how things happen at your work." These techniques are not mutually exclusive. You can combine provisional language and questioning by saying something like, "It sounds like you're disappointed with how your day went today. Am I understanding you right?" And across all of this, the don'ts and the techniques, pay attention to your nonverbals. Remember, you need to sound sincere, not distracted or sarcastic. Hopefully, you're able to extend beyond the paraphrasing basics and actually apply your newfound knowledge, including considering the 3 overall approaches as you go through the 4 steps of paraphrasing, paying attention to not only what you shouldn't do, the don'ts, and how you can use some techniques to word your paraphrases. With this information, you should be able to improve your understanding of what others mean in a variety of situations, whether your communication is with a friend or loved one, colleagues, or even strangers. And improved understanding tends to lead to improved relationships. And that's likely something we all want.